what this legislation does, RS 3015, the Idaho Parental Choice Tax Credit Bill, I know many of you have heard many things.
We've heard several things, sure, but today would be the first time we've seen this proposal. And as Senator Lori Den Hartog from Meridian explained it, here is what the legislature's latest attempt at the state tax dollars paying for the option of a private school education, something that hasn't, or isn't, I should say, been happening in Idaho at this time. Idaho Parental Choice Tax Credit Bill, House Bill 447. It's mostly what it sounds like. The bill's intent, as written, is to let parents and legal guardians be able to choose educational services that meet the needs of their individual children. It would allow parents to claim a tax credit up to $5,000 per student or $7,500 for kids with special needs, meaning any money they spend on any such education, which includes textbooks, transportation, including mileage, testing, tutoring, even tuition for a private school, a religious private school, any private school, they can get that money back when they file their taxes. And they plan to put a limit on that tax credit at $40 million on a first file, first credited basis. Okay, so what about the lower income families who don't really have the money up front to spend now and can't afford to wait for that tax credit? Well, House Bill 447 would also create a $10 million grant fund so parents can apply to get that money up front. The money to pay for that would come from legislative appropriations, the bill says, transfers, or even donations to the fund. But as you can imagine, there's likely to be a hit on Idaho's overall revenue, as explained by Senator Den Hartog.
The way a tax credit works is it reduces the revenue number on the bottom line to the state. So depending on how it affects an individual or a household's income tax filing, it either reduces their tax liability, which would reduce the amount of money being collected by the state, or if their tax liability is such that it is less than the amount of the refundable tax credit that they would be eligible for, the state would issue a refund. And that would come out of the general fund, which is a combination of sales tax and income tax.
So yeah, kind of like a hit of general or to the general fund of up to about $50 million a year, which is kind of how this bill is laid out. The other cost of this bill would be to cover 2 Idaho State Tax Commission employees to administer and oversee this program, just 2 employees. The State Tax Commission would also be responsible for auditing any receipts and invoices filed with this tax credit. Now, granted, this is just the introduction of the bill today. It wasn't any public testimony, so there's sure to be questions and hopefully some answers that come with that. But the bill itself, it does try to specify what is considered academic instruction. For example, it says that it has to include language arts, mathematics, science, social studies. Those have to be included. And those classes, though, they can be in person, they can be online, they can be virtually, or any combination of those. It could be a micro school, a learning pod in your neighborhood, just as long as those pods or those micro schools are taught by a certified teacher. I couldn't find anywhere in the bill that it specified that students who are homeschooled are included in this. Of course, unless that parent falls under the certified teacher category, then I guess that could be your own little micropod in your house. The bill does say any private school, by accepting students whose families using the tax credit or the grant money, does not become subject to oversight from the state. They don't have to change anything about what they believe, about what they teach, or who they allow to attend their school. The question many of you may have is, would $40 million be enough to cover this? Well, they said they would reassess in 2026 to decide that. House Bill 447 is now awaiting a public hearing in the House Taxation and Revenue Committee.